time to go to bed because you've got to get up to work in the morning. And so your mind has been taken over by the digital world.
Yeah, I tell you, um, over this past year that I've really stepped away from social media. I call it anti-social media because it's not really social at all, But
Yes, yes,
excuse me, since I've
I
stepped away from
concur.
that, my goodness, my life has become so much more enriched. I'm doing things in the community. I'm playing a lot more music. I'm creating the podcast or whatever. I'm being creative, and I had my time when I would sit all day and watch YouTube videos, and you know, I I would recommend balancing that out with actually doing stuff. I took up photography and go up into the mountains and take these beautiful pictures, and you know, or help my neighbors or something. It just I don't know. It could be it's a great tool, I suppose, but it also could kind of take away a little bit from your life.
Yes, this is the dilemma, difficulty that we all find ourselves in because this technology is a direct necessary requirement if we're going to function in this modern matrixial society, because they make it extremely difficult for us if we want to be outside of that. So therefore,
Yeah,
there's a high level of compliance that we have to have. I was watching some videos today, and I've been listening to C-SPAN. I've been listening to the Nigel Farage speech and the
yeah,
Trump speech, and lots of other people that are saying that we are winning against the powers that be. And it's beautiful to hear the United States president talking about the powers that be, and so when you've got like Nigel Farage, the leader of the British Independent Party,
mm,
because he's responsible for the Brexit, and he's saying we've got to get out of the grasps of these bankers and these manipulators, and so we all fall under the spell of these magicians, which are
oh yeah,
enormously powerful. When they have
yeah,
this great amount of power over the whole world now, let alone nations like America and Europe, who they've got in their clutches, and one country, Great Britain, are trying to get out, and it's like trying to get out of the bucket of crabs when all the other crabs are incessantly pulling you back down because they don't want you to go to succeed or be free. And
yeah,
so this is the difficulty. People have a little bit of an issue with me because they say I speak too much, but there's so much to be said, and often
yeah.
you need some sort of preamble to get to your point. Now, my point is, I listened to Will Smith, and it was, say, like, I don't know, he was on his yacht or he was somewhere, he was outside, and he was talking into his phone, and he's saying, listen, guys, I've just got to say something. I've just come out. I just want to get 24 hours peace. I just want 24 hours peace. I came out here because yesterday I was in my house and I never had anything to do. And I'm thinking, oh, what am I going to do? And then something in my mind is kept drawing me to turn on the television, to listen to the news. But he said, every time I turn on the freaking television to listen to the news, I get angry. And so I thought, fuck it, I'm not going to turn on the television. And so he sat there, and then his mind was going, turn on the television, turn on the television, turn on the television. And he went, my God, there's something has gotten hold of my mind, which is an absolute compulsion. He turned on the freaking television, and then he started to get angry. And so his point was that we have to be really, really careful, because whatever this thing is, Doug, that is pervading this world, it's got some sort of evil characteristic to it. It's very,
Oh
very
yeah,
negative, and all it wants to do is to feed on your negativity and to
yeah,
feed you negativity. The
yeah.
whole fucking thing is based in deep, dark, negative energy, and it's captivated the human psyche. And my God, we have now to try to escape it.
Yeah, I've often put it like this. It's a war on consciousness, and the battlefield's right here and right here. It's your own mind. That's where the war is really waging. And what you said about Will Smith, I could totally relate. I say turn it off. Turn the fucking thing off. I have one here, and it's basically a big dust collector. I really rarely use it. I have my computer. I might use it as a spare monitor when I'm doing some mixing. That's about it. But oh man, I stopped actively watching television well over a decade ago, and I think that we're bombarded with certain frequencies and certain wave patterns and whatnot. I think it takes all of 2 minutes to put a person into sort of a hypnotic state because of the flicker rate of the lights, because of the frequency and everything else.
Yeah.
And now everyone's got these smart TVs that spy on you, even when they're turned off. I'll never own one of those. It's just this complete invasion of privacy, and people willingly give it away. But I think, to me, that's really where the solution's going to start, is to detach from these things and really start to cultivate our own selves. And like I say, the battle's right here. And yes, there are influences, so don't get me wrong there. Of course, we're born into it. But I think it's imperative for one to take back their own mind, so to speak. And, we live a whole life of indoctrination and programming through the schools and through the media and education, religion, all of it. It's really kind of, it's not an easy thing to step away and become an observer and just detach and to redefine ourselves. But that's what it's going to take, I think.
Yes, it's very, very difficult indeed, because I haven't watched the television for 12 years. I haven't had a television for 12 years. And even though there's
Good for you.
one in my apartment, I will never ever turn that damn thing on. But I have an addiction to YouTube because it's a source of keeping in touch with the world. And even though lots of the stuff you don't want to hear, you don't want to know, maybe you shouldn't know, but there's something about the human nature which we're curious, and so we really kind of are drawn to what's going on. And thousands of years ago, it would be gossip that everybody, would go to the local corner in the town, and where people would hang around, and they'd know all the gossip, this sort of thing. And so we need to have some sort of level of information about the environment and the people which we're living in. But then you see, obviously, like you said, that we have to be able to manage that, and we have to be very selective, and we have to say to ourselves, what is it exactly that I want to know about this world? Because if you don't go onto the computer with an intention, then as soon as you turn it on, it's got you, because the hypnosis starts, the program starts. They'll show you thumbnails of this and that with clickbait and everything, and before you know it, you've lost your mind again, and you've gone round and round and round. And so
Yeah.
I do what you do and have done. I'm always out in nature because I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to work. And so therefore, I've got 24 hours a day to do what I will. And so for a good number of those hours, I play my guitar and have a little sing-song like yourself.
Oh, I didn't realize you were a guitarist too.
Yeah, and I'm also...
There's a lot of musicians that get into this sort of thing. I guess it has something to do with the creative mind or
Yes, also
whatnot. But
I'm a martial artist. I'm a former member of the British Full Contact Squad years ago. And
very
so
cool.
lots of people, again, like David Whitehead, who
Yeah,
hosts his show with Michael Tsarian and that. And so lots of
yeah,
people, they're involved in the martial arts or they're involved in music or something. So I do that, but also I get out into nature every single day for a bare minimum of an hour and sometimes up to 5 hours. So I do have a balance, but at the end of the day, even though I find myself having that level of balance, and I'm sharing in the natural beauty of the world, and I've got lots of time, I do anything from 1 to 4 hours meditation per day. And so
great.
I've got that beautifying mind going on. But you see, there's still a draw to the incessant backstabbing and misinformation, disinformation, and all the rest of it that's going on. And when we look at how the world is run and our leaders, they're all absolutely drawn into it unequivocally. And when you're a politician, you don't have time for anything else. Maybe if
Right.
you're a billionaire, a millionaire like Trump, then you can have the odd round of golf. But otherwise, you become a workaholic. Every single hour is given to the acquisition of knowledge and to keeping informed, because that's your job. You've got to absolutely know what's going on in this world to convey it, to get confidence.
Yeah, sure. And you mentioned a key thing in my life, which is balance, balancing it all out. Especially if you're a researcher into the inner workings of this blood-splattered madhouse, getting into the politics and the secret societies and researching all these kind of things. What did Nietzsche say? If you gaze into the abyss long enough, it'll gaze back at you.
Yeah.
So if you're walking this road and really looking at the darkness, which it's a healthy thing to do that to a point, but if you do it without balancing out your life, the darkness is going to consume you. And I've seen it happen. I've seen people that get so into, say, the 9/11 research, just as an example, that come to a point where they damn near lose their minds because they feel helpless, like there's no solution to all this knowledge that they got when they see that false flags occur, or that evil people are in control or whatever. They lose it because they feel this sense of hopelessness. And I think that's a very dangerous place to be. And if it takes going out in nature or playing with your pet or picking up the guitar, whatever it might be, painting, sculpting, whatever you're into, to kind of tap into that creative spark, I say go for it and definitely balance it out, because if we dwell on it too much, it can consume us. I've seen it happen to people. It's
Yeah.
sad. It's really sad.
It's sad, and it's very, very dangerous. And this is the
Yeah.
situation which is coming about now with great pervasiveness over the Western world. It's this hopelessness because
Yes.
we look at the world and it's a madhouse, like David Icke's always saying. It's an absolute madhouse. It's a constant what can you say? It's a charade, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
just bickering, and it's acting, and it's role playing, and it's lying, and it's manipulating, and all these sort of things. And there's a situation not too long ago in the UK whereby we had two parties, Labour Party and the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
And one was saying one thing and the other one was saying the other thing. And when they came for the election, there wasn't a sufficient majority with either one of them to win the position. And so then they had to join together. And then they joined together, and then they were saying the same thing. Now, hang on, what's going on here? How can you have two opposing parties that have got different belief systems, how they want to go forward to run the country, but just because the public doesn't give them any sufficient gain, then they decide they're going to go together, and all of a sudden they're friends. So you have to
Yeah.
realise then, really, that they're fucking friends all along anyway,
Yes.
and it's just all charades that they're playing.
Mhm.
It's just a game. They're giving you the illusion of freedom of choice, but there is no choice. And that was a classic example of it, and it's absolutely remarkable. And so now I look at Trump, and I listen to a fair bit of, the anti-Trump and the pro-Trump and all this, and then listening to Farage with his support speech for him in 2016, and then listening to him at C-SPAN very recently, talking about how great Trump is. Well, I mean, the difficulty is who on earth do we believe? Because if we look at the world for proof of any of the good things that is supposed to be happening to the world, I can't see it. Doug, can you see it?
Well, I think it's up to me to create it in my own community on a grassroots level. I see
Yeah,
it when I'm taking action to make my community a better place. And I think I always talk about bringing it to the grassroots level. You want to see change in the world, you got to be that change. You got to take it to the world. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Help someone in need, connect with your neighbors, plant a garden. I mean, rescue an animal, something that your action could bring something positive. No, I don't. What I see is a planet of people that are locked in a victim consciousness and allowing these misleaders to run amok. Trump, I don't trust him for shit. He met with the Council on Foreign Relations President Haas right before his election, and the APAC people in this country, you don't get into that position without the nod of approval of APAC and the CFR. It just doesn't happen. And then, basically on the strings of Israel. And so I
yeah,
don't trust any one of them. Even Farage, I know who he is. I've seen a lot of his speeches. He reminds me kind of like Ron Paul, one of the few amidst the wolves,
yeah,
We're never going to change things by going to the ballot box. It's never going to work. It's the consciousness of the people that needs to change. Well, shit, the only way is for an individual to take on the burden of responsibility to do so, to transcend the victim mindset. Because, as I'm sure you'd agree, that basically the outer and the inner are intimately connected. To me, the world is a reflection of what's going on in the collective consciousness. Well, shit, obviously there's some deep trauma that needs to be healed within the
yeah,
psyche of the people.
yeah,
And I think that's where it's going to begin, is with each individual's willingness to step back and observe, not be so enthralled in the illusion, just observe it, and then take the steps to transcend that victim consciousness, because that's a real problem. Human beings, shit, we've been uh, ensconced in tyranny for what 6,000 years and probably more. And I think that's one of the key reasons why is because we maintain these ideas about ourselves like we're less than magnificent. We're just a little poor me victim. I mean, and you could even examine that on an individual level in people's relationships, like the abused woman who goes from one abusive partner to the next because of this belief she has about herself. To me, that's the big one: is to transcend that victim mentality.
Yeah,
Or
it's
else
a,
we're always going to get what we've always got, which are misleaders, warmongers who don't give a shit about you, who will run the country into the ground here
yeah.
and over in England and anywhere else. It's
Uh,
this externalization. We need to stop doing that. We need to start bringing it internally and focus on becoming self-actualized, I think.
Absolutely. I'm going to pick up on that part, but I'm just going to go back to the Farage and the Trump bit. You see, when you look at these guys, and Farage is talking about, yeah, we broke away from the masters, so to speak, and Trump is going, yeah, all the false news and manipulators of the people in power and everything, I'm going to make America great again. We're going to
Yeah,
clean out the swamp and all this sort of thing. But then you see, Trump has a very, very close relationship with Israel, and
yeah,
it is the people that come out of Israel, the what are they called, Kazakhans, or the the, the original Jewish people.
the Khazars.
Khazars, yeah, the Khazars, and so this is, it seems, where the Zionists have actually stemmed from, and
Yeah.
this nation. They hide themselves. They don't want to reveal themselves. But obviously, with all the manipulation with Israel and flying the Israeli flag next to the American flag, it's very indicative that there's something very, very peculiar going on
Oh, sure.
when a
I
tiny
mean,
tiny
come
country
on,
with a
Trump's a money guy. You do not become a Manhattan real estate mogul without serious insider connections. His entire cabinet are big money people, Goldman Sachs people. Who does he answer to? Do
yeah.
you think he answers to the people or to the money lobbyists that put him there? It's the same old shit. And I think it's very ingenious and clever what they've done with him. Oh, let's make him appear to be the opposition and drain the swamp. But he's just following the same neocon agenda going after Iran, Syria, North Korea that his predecessors did. It's the same old shit. And until people can, remove their consciousness from the muck and mire of the political game, nothing is ever going to change. It's got to be, again, taken within and I guess pondered how, what's my part in being part of the solution? And I just don't pay attention to it anymore because it seems like the same old shit to me over and
Yeah,
over.
yes, it is, and I'm not going to be paying any more attention to it because I've got other things to do with my life. But I just as a curious being that I am, I look at this stuff from time to
Yeah,
time,
sure.
and I see the games they're playing, and I try to work it out, because I think in person, I want to look at it and go, what can I really make of this? And I see Nigel Farage, and is a very, very sincere person. And I believe everything he says, and he's been um, so steadfast in his desire in what he's wanted to achieve for 25 years. And so you can see that he's got a history that you can check and you can quantify, and you can see if he's been bullshitting or changing his mind, at a whim. And he's not. And so then when he promotes Trump and makes it sound like they want the same objective, you have the question, well, hang on. I mean,
Yeah,
Farage wants Brexit. He wants to get out the clutches of the masters of the world, these illusory or illusionary, or the presidents of the European Union that nobody knows. They're self-elected,
yeah.
and there's no information on them. Very, very difficult to get any information on them. And even Farage was saying to the president of the European Union, "Who are you? I've never seen you before. I don't know who you are. Does anybody know who you are? You know, these mystery men, these mysterious people that all of a sudden come into power. How on earth do they get into power? When anybody else wants to get into power, like a politician, for a president or a prime minister, they've got a campaign for years and put loads of money into it. But all of a
Yeah.
sudden, if you want to be the leader of the European Union of 27 countries, then you just fucking grow out the ground mysteriously
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
that position. It's all very, very bizarre. But what I'm
Yeah.
getting to here is that if Farage is fighting for freedom from the big bankers and the clutches of evil, which want to break down all the borders and this, that, and the other, and Trump is seemingly he wants to build his wall, so he doesn't want an open world. But then you see the contradiction comes that is in Israel's pocket, and it's Israel that are doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with putting that guy in this country, it was ingenious because we know how these behind the scenes players work. One of their chief tactics is what?
Just
Divide and
before we
rule.
go on, would it be fair to say that Israel is doing this,
Oh
or
yeah,
some sect of Jew, isn't it, predominantly? You see, this is the thing where
well,
we can get into
Zionism.
very sorry.
It's Zionism, political
Zionism, yeah,
Zionism.
and
You know, I see a lot of researchers that I think fall down the path of identifying one particular group, say the Jews, the Masons, the Illuminati, it's this, it's that. It is not, it's all those things. It's the true controlling powers, shit, they could pass you in the street with a smile and a wave, you'd be none the wiser. They operate in the darkness. And these politicians and prime ministers, heads of state, they're nothing but low-level henchmen. They are the buffer between the public and the people who really pull the strings. You're never going to know, you know. We could identify facets of it, and Zionism is a big one. I'll give you that, absolutely. And so is upper echelon masonry, if you really do the studying in the secret societies and stuff like that. But to ever think that we've got it, oh, it's them, no. But when it comes to Israel, God, one of the most brutal regimes on the planet, the genocide, massive genocide. Gaza Strip is one of the most crowded places in the world, mostly children, just bombing the living piss out of these people. And it's just really disturbing. And you see American politicians on the strings of Israel. It's
yeah.
amazing.
If that
And
happened in any
oh,
other
they're
nation,
anti-Semitic to say such things, you know what I mean? So that's how they get you.
absolutely.
Oh, you're an anti-Semite because you said Jew or whatever.
Yeah, you see,
It's
with
just ridiculous.
Gaddafi, it was like, oh, Gaddafi's penalising his people, or he's bullying his
Mm,
people, or
right.
whatever he's doing. We've got to stop this evil regime, and so they go in and they bomb him, and they change the regime. But
Yeah.
certain sectors of media were going around. That particular country and interviewing and looking, and the people say, no, Gaddafi is a very good person. He
Oh, the
gives
things he did in that country for his
yeah, he
people is
gives
amazing.
all newly married people a home
Yeah,
to live in,
yeah,
and they were all very, very happy with whatever they were getting, and so it was all an absolute crock of shit. And so to see
yeah,
that Israel is getting away with impunity of perpetuating this barbarism, of bombing of women and children indiscriminately, like you can see on many media, they get away with it and nothing's done about it. Then you have to know that those are the people then who are running the world, because if that wasn't
yeah.
the case, they couldn't get away with it.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. And you know, this is the thing too, especially Americans. The mass majority are just completely no grasp of history whatsoever. How come no one knows about the USS Liberty? Israel damn sank an American ship full of sailors back in the 60s.
Yeah.
We forget about these things, you know. And yeah, what is it? What is with the Israeli lobby pulling the strings? But you can't talk about that, you know. It's incredible. Yeah, who's America's allies in the Middle East? Saudi Arabia, Israel, the two most brutal regimes on the fucking planet. It's just amazing to me. Remember Bush? We don't do business with terrorists. Well, yeah, you do, because you got the Saudi royals in your back pocket, or they got you in their back pocket. Of course you do.
And
The most brutal regimes on the
they were
planet.
part of companies, oil companies, which would have had a
Carlisle.
decent relationship with
Yeah.
the Bin Ladens also.
Yes.
Honestly, let well, not to go round and round and round in this boring shit for most people. I look at it, Doug, and I think about it and I just end up laughing. And the feeling that comes over me that it is all so absurd, it cannot possibly be real. It is
Yeah.
just, it's all designed, this experience, to fuck with our heads,
Yes.
to drive us into something, maybe to drive us outside of all that, and so we can finally realize, we finally see the light, and grasp that it's just a fucking show that's going on here,
Yeah.
and the real thing that we should be doing is, like you say, helping your neighbor, and
Yeah.
planting a few seeds, and taking a few photos, and enjoying whatever it is that you're enjoying, and not being subject to the distraction that the world has got over us via this hypnotism.
Yes, I think that the greatest, fuck you to the system would be to cultivate the fruits of the spirit: joy, compassion, kindness, caring, love, unity, honor, right? Decency, to, despite this shit, to live your life to the fullest. And for people that walk this road into this dark research, again, I highly recommend detaching from it now and again and rejuvenating the inner spark of creativity, and to cultivate those fruits, if you will. You know, uh, that's how you do it. You live your life to the fullest despite this shit. If you get too drawn into it, like I say, it's going to consume you and devour you. So where's the balance point? you know,
That's it.
and
That's it. Let us just pause for a couple of seconds here, because this is the most important subject that we could broach. Because all the people that we've been privy to, Doug, throughout all of our years of research, they've all
yeah,
been banging on about all the problems in the world, and yet
yes,
none of them have come up with a solution which is suitable to go forward with, and it's going to benefit you to such a degree whereby you can have a level of contentment with it and belief in that solution. And
yeah.
and so what can we say then is the solution? We're talking obviously in the realms of balance, because we need balance. We need to know what the evil aspects of this world are, to be in avoidance of them. Because like the old saying goes, keep your friends close, but your enemies even closer. I think we do need to have a level of engagement with them, but we can't let it affect us.
Right. It's good to know, what the enemy's doing, what weapons are they using, metaphorically speaking. It's good to be aware. But again, to me, it's always been about balance. As far as the solution, I I think we're searching. I think maybe that humanity has to be willing to go into uncharted territory, um, to create something that we've never experienced before.
Yeah.
And what does that look like? Well, shit, I got ideas, but I don't have the answer. And I think maybe if enough people come together and will bring something to the table, because anyone on this journey has something to offer. They might not think so, but you never know. You might have an idea that sparks someone else, and like a domino effect, and that could reach a lot of people. Or maybe you present an idea to someone who has good communication skills, who could reach thousands more. Um, I really do think it's going to begin on the grassroots level, though. Bullhorning and shouting from the rooftops, that's not going to change it. And picketing in the streets, that's not going to do it either.
No.
It's something more. I'm a person that searches for the solutions. I think, it definitely does start with the individual and the willingness to kind of deconstruct our cognitive fortresses, as I call them, which requires what? Examining our beliefs and um, rethinking what we think we know. And that's the hard part. That's probably the first step.
Yeah.
After that, well, shit, what the new paradigm could look like, well, we're going to have to be imaginative about it, aren't we? I prefer to experience a world where we're not bashing each other's brains in, where disease is a thing of the past, where we celebrate diversity instead of getting sucked into all this collectivism, where we maintain our power instead of giving it away to some fucking misleader who doesn't care about you. I try to imagine the experience that I would prefer to live, and that might be a start. If we're focusing so much on all the problems and not pondering the experience that we would prefer, are we feeding it? I wonder.
Yes. And so, just for me to address that bit then, you was sort of leaning towards expressing what your version of utopia would be, and this is something that we can all sort of kind of try to envisage. How the world would be if there were no wars and if there were no disease and if we all had food and we all were catered for. But this is, Jacques Fresco fantasy ideology. And I was speaking with Max about this, and I'm an absolute believer that this will never happen at our particular position in our consciousness. And so therefore then we have to look for something else. And I think you have found it, and I found it to a degree. And that is to keep this balance and to keep involved with what we really are as a experiencer. It seems we've come here to experience, and so what we have to do is then we have to go, well, okay, let us choose then. Let us choose very, very carefully what we want to experience. Because if we don't set our mind, if we don't take possession of our own thoughts, then somebody else is going to.
That's it.
And this virus that is all pervasive around this world, that's what it does. It takes possession of consciousness. It takes possession of thoughts. It is thoughts because it implants them into your brain. If you don't create thoughts yourself, then it's going to put them in your mind. And so this is something that we have to be very, very mindful of. And so there's very, very few people, as you know, Doug, that have the ability to be able to do this, to actually see the wood from the trees. They don't know this is going on. So how can they combat an invisible enemy that they don't know even exists?
Yeah, I think you made a really good point about monitoring your thoughts. I mean, think of all the thoughts that drift through, every day. How many of those are disempowering and negative and victim related? And I think that's a really good start, is to start to monitor our thoughts and just observe. Try not to judge yourself, because we tend to do that too. Just observe how many of them are empowering and how many are disempowering. And as far as I know it's a dilemma, isn't it? You've probably spent time, because when you get into this, I think it's just the natural desire. So you want to wake up your brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
But unless that person wants it, you're spinning your wheels. It's like a futile effort unless that person really is ready in their consciousness to open their eyes and see things as they are. And doesn't seem to be very many. And so the world just slips further and further into the sewer. It's just a shame. And I didn't mean to suggest that there could ever be a utopia on this planet, but damn, I mean, the power of imagination, I think, is great if it's utilized. And I don't know, maybe we could at least come up with ideas to better the situation. And like I said, I really do think it begins very grassroots, just to do something in the community that makes a difference. If 3-4 billion people woke up tomorrow and said, what can I do today to just make my situation a little better? What action could I take? Well, shit, the whole world would change for the better, wouldn't it? But unfortunately, not a lot of people thinking about these things.
The greatest issue is that we've got individual egos. I mean, I won't say that we're all individual, because we're not all individual. We are part of some sort of you can call it a living organism. We are all cells of a living organism called the human race, and so we're not separate, but we think we're separate, and we're programmed separately, just like bytes in a computer. And so the issue is that because everybody has had a different path in life, then they've gathered up different information, different values and different programs and any number of things. And when you read down comments on one video, you would think that that the people commenting are commenting on 100 videos, because every single comment that you've got it's kind of like, well, okay, I mean, where on earth do they derive that from this video? I mean, I don't get people. And when you watch a fantastic video, very, very logical, very rational, very reasonable, and then you've got like 200 thumbs down and say like maybe 2,000 thumbs up, you go, well, who are these people? Are they insane? What is it with
Yeah.
these people? You're never gonna reach them. And
No.
so what we've got is we've got varying degrees of sickness. Doug, I swear
Yeah.
it's a sickness. The
Oh yeah.
human being, the mind is sick because
Oh yeah.
it is absolutely controlled by negative viruses. Getting a
Yeah.
bit more personal now, and this is the thing, you see, I don't think we've got any solution for everybody because everybody's different. And so, because we have experienced something that we know is better, when you have that experience, when you're in the mountains and you're taking photos, you feel wonderful. And you see, what you're doing is you are gazing upon this beautiful earth, and the beauty is coming from outside of you, and you're projecting that onto the world because this is how it works. Because I don't think there's intrinsic beauty in anything, it's in the eye of the beholder. And so
Yeah.
what you want to do, you want to capture that in your photo because you want to share it.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We want to share the good things about this world, but we cannot reach the vast majority of people, and that's what frustrates us. Now then,
Yeah.
getting back to something very personal, my daughter, she's 27, and she can't find any joy in this life. And
Mm.
I try to speak to her about it, but she just doesn't want to speak about it. And I try to convey the things that I know to be a benefit, like going running. I've run all my life. Release those endorphins. Get the energy and the blood pumping round. Feel vital. Do that. She doesn't want to do that. Well, go walking in nature and look at nature. She thinks that's boring. All she does is she goes to the gym and she's working out because she's got this pressure, societal pressure, and the pressure that she's brought about by herself, that she's got to have this perfect body. And she has. She's got the beautiful body. She's a beautiful looking woman. But you see, when you are beautiful, then you've got this pressure of keeping that beauty. Because as soon as you start to lose your beauty or you put a bit of weight on, nobody will ever tell you you're beautiful, Doug, but they'll soon tell you you've put weight on. Or, your skin complexion's not as good as it used to be, or
Yeah.
this, that, and the other. And so, therefore, people today, they're under this enormous amount of pressure, and they just want to keep living to fend off this negative energy, which is trying to attack them all around. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, what we have to do is we have to know that this negative energy doesn't have any power whatsoever as soon as we stop believing in it.
That's right. It's like the vampire. You have to invite them in, right?
Yeah.
And you raised a good point. I have a daughter as well. She's 23, beautiful girl, and she's definitely not your average 23-year-old, and sees all this. And it's there's another facet to this control shit: over identification with the physical.
Yeah.
And man, you see it all over. The aging actress that needs Botox injections to the face, or boob jobs, or plastic surgery, and all this shit to maintain this really kind of superficial standard of beauty.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't blame the young women for falling into it because society just pressures the living shit out of them. I understand it, but I think if we over-identify too much with the vessel, that causes real problems too. Then we're forgetting, what we really are, that spark of who we really are. And I do understand. I've seen a lot of women fall into that, and it's just a shame. What about the inner beauty? That's what I see in a woman is her inner light. I don't really much care what the vessel looks like. You know what I mean? And it's just this really superficial standard of what beauty means. And shit, if that's one thing we really need to transcend as well, this hyper over identification with the physical body. It's just a vessel. That's it.
Yes,
It's a vessel.
that's right. And so I've got a sister who's 2 years younger than me, and every single day she looks in the mirror and she hates herself. She tells herself that, oh, I hate myself, I hate this and I hate that and I hate something
Okay.
else, even though she's faring up very, very well for her age. She's 52, and I've said to her on many occasions, I said, look, what you're doing is torturing yourself, and of course you're not getting any younger. You're going to get older and older and older. And so are you going to be doing this for the rest of your life, or are you going to get some sort of level of acceptance about growing old gracefully? I said the
Yeah.
reason why I can see that lots of women, they can't grow old gracefully is because They only have their looks. If you were a poet, if you were a writer, if you were an actor, if you were anything creative that people appreciated, then they would look at you for your work and not at your face. And so you can see them with actors who actually, some of them do grow old gracefully, and people go, "What a beautiful actor! What a wonderful settled woman, settled into her age and embracing it and really enjoying it." When you can see a woman of 65 years old enjoying being 65, that is a marvelous miracle, really, isn't it?
Yeah,
It takes some real deep resignation, acceptance, and grace to be able to do that.
yeah, yeah. Why can't we? Why can't we grow old gracefully and accept it? Didn't wasn't it Young who said that? We hit middle age, and then we're,
I was
we're
going to say
supposed to
this.
start to blossom
Yeah, I
like a
was going.
flower. Yeah, right? But no, we hit middle age, and then we have the midlife crisis, and we start to, it's the fear of death. That's what we should be preparing for, the inevitable. And how much does that rob her of living life? And
Yes.
52, you're still young.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on. In
I
this
know.
world, that's young.
And so
Um,
the
Go ahead.
God, I'm sorry. The tragedy is, Doug, that you you just cannot get through to the deep-rooted programs which
Yeah,
have been um, what can you say that instilled in them all of
yeah,
their lives through the propaganda and hypnosis that they've been under. Very few people have the wisdom and the ability, the cognizant ability to be able to go through all of this stuff, to be able to deeply introspect into human psychology, to be able to philosophize at such a deep level,
yeah,
to be able to work out what this world is all about. I'm at the stage in my life now, I accept my age very, very readily. I was
yeah.
walking on the beach a couple of hours ago, and I was fine up until 1 second, and then all of a sudden, every time I placed my foot down, there was a big pain in it. And I thought, what on earth is that all about? I've not crooked it, I've not twisted it, I've not done anything to it, but all of a sudden, I can't walk on it no more. And so I looked up into the sky and I just laughed. I laughed at this cosmic giggle of this thing that we will never ever understand. The only thing we can do is bow down to the genius of it, that it's such a complexity that you have to admire the complexity and the paradox. And if you embrace that, when you embrace that, that is when you fear nothing anymore. You've got
Yes.
a great level of acceptance for absolutely everything, and you just open your eyes and you say to the world, what do you want to show me today?
Yeah. Imagine if we all live with that attitude. I think this world is an experiential cornucopia. I call it the carnival outre. It's like this circus bazaar, and we go in, there's thrills and chills and glittering prizes and all these things. Why can't we approach it with that attitude of, wow, it's an exquisite teaching machine. How about
Yeah,
that?
yes,
But wait, what happens? We get so caught up in the game and the illusion as if it's real, and it consumes us. And we're so busy, 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 and got to pay the rent and all this shit that we forget to step back and do just as you said, laugh at it, and to cultivate that joy. And to me, that's really important to reestablish. Terribly important, because look at where we are, on the cusp of really extinction. A
yes.
lot of people just don't care about that, but for those of us that do, I think doing what you just mentioned is very, very healthy and important. Um,
Yes.
bring that light to this darkened world. That's what a true master does. Shine their own inner light into this world.
Yeah, and so there's something really, really incredible that people that they can't see that, and Max he did a video about this, and it was like living in two worlds.
Yeah.
This whole twin world thing, and there's always been this philosophy about the two worlds, the two world philosophy, like the heaven and the hell, and this sort of thing. But the two worlds, when you look at it from a deeply philosophical perspective, is the abstract and the interior. The subjective experience, this is one world going on inside here. And it just so happens that we're in this sort of dream, this illusion, this hologram, whatever, where we think there's a world going on in the abstract, but we know, all our scientists tell us there's no world well, not all of them, but there's a good number of them. Again, it's a paradox, isn't it? Some of them tell us that, everything's solid and everything's made of this, and if we put this chemical with this chemical and this molecule with this molecule, we can make this, and we're so genius, and we've learnt all the secrets of the universe. And then other scientists will say, hang on, the secret of the universe, there's no universe. Fools. What are you doing, perpetuating in this nonsense? But this is the paradox of it. This is the thing that's absolutely incredible. There is no corporality to this world. It's illusory.
Yeah.
But it seems so freaking real, and sometimes it hurts, and so therefore we have to give some sort of level of respect to it. But if we can embrace this two-world thing, and we can get in touch with the interior, when we become calm, that is when your eyes begin to see, your ears begin to hear, your body begins to feel, your heart begins to feel, and there's so many wonderful things which will be shown to you, and the whole world actually does speak to you through some sort of telepathy. It tells you, can you see me today? Can you see these beautiful hues? Can you see these buttercups, how in the morning time they're closed, but when the sun rises and bless them with my warmth, they will turn their face to me and they will follow me throughout the whole day. They will move following me, because I'm blessing them, and they are gathering my resources, my energy, because I'm giving them life. When you see this, when you get involved with it, it's absolutely amazing. When you see the honeybees gathering their pollen and putting it on their legs and flying back and being so resourceful and genius in how they do it, when you have the time to do this, and when you have the facility to apply your dumb senses to it, open up your senses. When you see it, that is what this life is about.
Yeah. I mean, realize that you're not separate from it. This whole illusion of separation, I think that's another thing that gets us. When you gaze into a clear sky and you see the trillions and trillions of stars, realize that you're looking at yourself. It's a reflection. And why can't we get our heads around to this? One thing, when I had the ayahuasca experiences, it basically showed me that you're an embodiment of the entire cosmos. If it were possible to stretch your DNA, what is it? Something like 10 billion miles. We have 10 billion miles of DNA, and we know that DNA is a storehouse of information, like a living library.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're the embodiment of the entire cosmos. There's no separation. That's another illusion. That's an ego illusion, and we live by it. Shit, we're not only separate from each other, we're separate from ourselves. We're split, inwardly dissociated, divided, and we don't realize that there's such a greater aspect, if you will, to what we truly are. And what if we walked in that light? If we walked in the knowledge of who and what we are, and the fact that there is no separation, would these criminal misleaders would they be in the positions they are? No, I think we fucking create them. If there wasn't, we'd have to invent it,
Yeah.
It's so hysterical. We are amazingly intricate and infinite beings. Why not embrace that and cultivate it from within and stand in that knowledge of who and what you are? I mean, you want to see change. That's the way to, get rid of this mentality. Little poor me, and I'm not good enough. Oh, ugly, all that shit. It's just lies anyway. No, you're not. You're beautiful and brilliant and magnificent, and everything that exists. You weren't created. You can't be destroyed. You are. Well,
Yeah.
imagine coming around to that mindset. How that might change someone's life.
I know, and the crazy paradoxical thing about it again is that we are so brilliant, and yet we think we're so insignificant.
Yeah,
We tread ourselves down on a constant basis, and we allow the simplest of manipulation to take over our genius.
hmm,
This mind virus that they've done, it's so crass, it's so absurd. When you become awake, when you put these glasses on, like in the film They Live, when you
yeah,
have this level of realization where you see it with crystal clarity, you wonder how ever you were fooled by it in the first place. Because
yeah,
it's so crass, it's so in your face, obvious bullshit. How is it that we've fallen for it? And so this is the thing that I can't get my head around when we look at the genius of what it is to be a human being. Look at what we can do. Look at all the marvelous things that we do. Look at Michelangelo's pictures. Look
mm,
at Leonardo da Vinci's inventions, or look at any of the scientific geniuses or musical geniuses. All this beautiful thing. We are absolutely brilliant.
yeah,
And we give all that away. We
yeah,
resign ourselves to being copiers. That's all we resign ourselves to being, copying what other people have said, what other people have wrote, what other people do, what other people tell us to do, and all this sort of thing. And so we're living out somebody else's life. We are not living our own lives, are we?
yeah, right. Everything's adopted. And it you say, and I've gone through the same thing. How did I ever fall for this shit? But it happens. We're born into it. And from the time we're very young, we're conditioned into the illusion. And if you ever notice the kids, the young ones that kind of feel out of place, they're marginalized or they're beaten into conformity, you
Yeah.
know, and so it just stays with us our whole lives. Unfortunately, most people it will follow them right to their graves, unfortunately, and they'll never. But yeah, I mean, it's what if we deliberately chose to incarnate here because of the way it is, because there was some aspect that could provide growth for us as I
Yeah.
look at these things. I don't know, but it's a thought.
No,
But
it's a
yeah,
beautiful thought, Doug. And you see, what I love about my engagement with people such as yourself is that we're thinking each other's thoughts. And you mentioned the whole Jungian thing just as an instant I was going to mention it. And now you're mentioning, this what if thing. And it's like, exactly. Yes, that's exactly what I was wanting to convey. When there's a certain few of us that actually kind of like crack this nut. But it's still so unbelievable because we have left our awareness of it behind
yeah,
wherever we came from. Like you say, we come down here, we're reincarnated because it's a task. See if you can break this one then. How many levels are there in this spirit world? How many dimensions are there, Doug, that we can go on holiday like Total Recall? Take me to the most fucked up planet on Earth where it's run by
yeah,
archons and negative energy, and all they want to do is strip you of your own thinking and this, that, and the other. Take me there because I want to crack those motherfuckers. Some of us
yeah.
do it, and when we do it, we look at it and we go, it's unbelievable. The whole world, to me, seems absolutely fake. I'm telling you, Doug, it seems so
I know.
fucking fake. And I'm looking at it, and I've broke and I've cracked this nut, and I'm going, well, does that make me mad? Am I mad, or have I really cracked the nut? What's going on? Because it seems like, the fiction of 7.5 billion people and all these countries and all these energies, and little old me, you see, I've cracked it, what's going on this planet. And then you think to yourself, well, hang on a minute, what if I'm wrong? Does that mean I've got a messiah complex? Does that mean I'm freaking insane? How can I have cracked the nature to this dimension? What do you think about that?
Uh, Maybe we've done it before. Maybe we've done it. Maybe there's different levels of progression for spirit. Um, Different. Maybe we've played the game more times than other people.
Yeah,
I often wonder that too. And I kind of try to look at it as a game, an experiential game that we play. And boys, this one, when we leave this place, we're probably be like, "Ooh, that was a wild one. I want to go play a different game. Now I'm done with the Earth game. That was wild." But I don't know if you remember Bill Hicks. He was a
Yeah,
comedian.
absolutely.
Guy was a genius. He used to say that it's like a ride at an amusement park, this world, right?
Yeah.
And it feels so real because our minds are very powerful. Something to that effect, he said. I think he was really onto something. But if we could take a step back and kind of look at it as a game and realize that we are destined to leave this physical shell behind one day and accept it. Shit, that would loosen the load, lighten the burden quite a bit, wouldn't it?
Absolutely,
And take
absolutely.
the time to laugh. I've often wondered, is it possible to balance out the polarities and then transcend that duality in our minds and working towards it? Balance to me has always been, I've just been very kind of almost obsessed with the idea
So,
of
so
balancing out.
what birth sign are you then, Doug?
A Libra,
Of course you are.
of course,
Same as
quintessential.
me. Same as me.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
There you go then. And so this is it, you see. And so is it predominantly Libyans that are going to be, getting this level of tranquility within our lives because we are destined, born under a certain star constellation, an energy field, to seek out balance, and we will never rest until we've got it. And this is the whole thing with me, you see. I know how I am absolutely in bliss when I'm in nature and I'm not
Yeah,
thinking, I'm in meditation and all this beautiful things that you can just gaze upon the flower for hours and hours. But then there's a certain reality that comes crashing through the door, and that's, oh, you've got to go back to the matrix because you've got to go shopping and you've got to buy some food and you've got to do cooking and you've got to do some cleaning and this, that, and the other. It's like, oh shit! Why were we blessed with these mundane tasks that we have to perform for a good part of our lives? Most people, they perform these mundane tasks for 95% of their lives. Fortunately,
yeah,
people like you and I, when we absolutely insist on balance, we go, no, I'm minimizing all that bullshit task mastering because I'm not interested in it. And this is why I got rid of all my properties, all my possessions, and I just walked away with 2 whole doors and a guitar. That's all I wanted. I
that's
didn't
something I
I
would
didn't want to
do.
get involved in anything else, Doug.
I can relate to you. I had a marriage, a nice house in the suburbs, and all the things that go along with that family life. The dog in the yard and all of it. And I
Yeah,
lost it all. I lost it all. I lost my house through foreclosure and divorce.
yeah,
And lost all that material shit and realized, looking back, what a burden. And same, I got my books and my guitars. That's the most important things I got. And I look back and I live a much more simple life. It's like my boat is empty, but my cup is full. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I much prefer because it's a fucking burden owning a house. Something breaks, you got to cough up the dough to fix it. It was becoming such a burden. And all that loss actually gave me more in return. I'm free of a poison relationship. I don't have the burden of that house. I'm financially way better off than I was when I owned the house because something always needs to be fixed. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's kind of like, you know, sometimes in life, what might seem like a nightmare when we're going through it turns out to be a blessing later on. And
yeah.
at least it's been like that for me. Same thing with losing my career. Well, I got a lot more in return. I never would have been on this path if that didn't happen, I don't think. And so a lot of times when we're going through rough times, we don't see the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And I can totally relate to that, but I'm much more free now than
Yes.
when I was burdened in that situation.
Yeah, that's it. It's a beautiful thing. And I look around now at my level of freedom, and I'm absolutely basking in it. But
Yeah.
because I've been immersed in doing what I've been doing, communicating with people for so long, all of a sudden that was taken away from me. But I was speaking to Paul about it. I wanted it to be taken away from me because what I was doing with my viewers on many occasions, I was pushing them away. I was pushing the vast majority of the viewers away because I was telling them that if you are not the sort of person that I've been conveying that I want, then there's no point in you sticking around because I don't have an interest in you. I'm not being mean or nasty to anybody. I'm just saying that I'm going forward to another dimension of my life now, and I want to be taking some of you with me, whom I can be extremely comfortable with, and this is what I've done, and now I'm here. I'm
Yeah,
having a little bit of difficulty in finding my feet. Only addressing now a dozen people, really. There's only ever a dozen people that are engaging on this side, but those dozen people are really, really becoming very important to me, and you're one of them. Because
thank you.
there's
I
this
appreciate it.
deep-rooted connection that we've got, and I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. And I think to myself, well, is that it then? I'm not saying
Tell you
is
what, not to interrupt,
let me
but
just
go ahead. I'm
finish.
sorry.
I was going to say, is that it? And I'm not being demeaning about my life because my life has been blessed. I'm telling you. But if I look around me and if I go, well, 54 years now, and I've found people that I can actually have a connection, deep-rooted connection with my mind and heart. This whole heart math thing that Greg Braden's always talking about, I've
Yeah.
got that with the members of my little community now. And I'm thinking, well, I want to stop talking to the whole world because I can't do nothing with them. All it does is detracts the love and the energy and the passion away from me that I should be giving to the people that respect it.
There you go. You just said it. I had the same exact feeling. One of the big reasons why I stepped away from it. I don't give a shit about followers and numbers, any of it.
Yeah,
I mean, and out of, say, 50,000 people, if your words reached one that made a difference, well, you've done a good job, in my opinion. And
yeah,
it's the same, I'm going through the same thing. I don't think I got attacked as much as you, but I know what that feels like too. And I'll tell you, the handful of people, they're just amazing human beings. Greg and Cheryl, those two people are so genuine and just real, down to earth. I love them.
yeah,
Um, and the other people, I did have some contact with Guy through email. We didn't talk yet. Seems like a really great guy. He's very helpful. And
yeah,
when I did the ayahuasca the last time, and I mean, I don't, this is not like the be all end all experience, but I like to share a little bit of what I experienced because I cleaned myself out. I, took a heavy, heavy, strong dose. And some of the messages I got were just so profound. Now, the last time was in 2012, around this time of year, actually, in the winter. And I never need to take it again. It was so profound. But I remember hearing the words, "It's a parting of the ways. The gathering is here. Time to gather my people." And I said, well,
right,
what the fuck does that mean? But I think I'm starting to understand now what I was trying to tell myself. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I think that's it. The energies are separating, I think. And like attracts like. And the ones that are going to go down with the ship, they're going to be attracted to that kind of energetic vibration. Whereas the ones like us that want to walk the road of balance and creativity and search for solutions and come together, I think it's like we'll gravitate towards one another as a matter of course, you
yes,
know, I think. And it seems to be happening because, these people that have come into my life, like I said, they are generous and kind and loving, compassionate, and decent human beings. It's been just wonderful having that experience. And if it's only a handful, this message is not for the world, like you say. It's not. And you go on a public platform like YouTube, oh man, get ready for the attacks and the venom.
yeah.
It's par for the course.
That's right, and so we've finally arrived, I think, then at a certain place in our lives where we have made realizations, and we are now intuiting the world um, to what it really is, and it's a beautiful thing. But we cannot give this to people who haven't travelled our journey.
That's
And
it.
so I did a video just before my site was down, and it was based on the Serenity Prayer. Give me the strength to change the things I can, the serenity to accept the things I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
And so it's a case of, well, I mean, what have I been doing this 5 years? I've been really wanting to, in my naivety, to impart the information into the public. And, like yourself, Doug, we've had many emails which have expressed that people have gained a lot of knowledge and insight, and we've helped them. And it's been a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
But they've gone another way. They don't stick around forever, the vast majority of them, because they've got their path and they will, be travelling somewhere else. But there's a few that will stick around because the adhesion becomes so strong that they know that they won't find anybody else which is fulfilling them the same as this particular person. It's like when you find a lover that that you're absolutely compatible with, then you stop looking, don't you?
Yeah.
Maybe momentarily, but at least for a few years you'll stop looking. And so this is what I'm feeling now. I've met some beautiful people that satisfy me in all of my needs. I don't need a sexual partner because the gratification that I get through the stimulation of my heart and my mind, that's what does it for me. So I'm leaving the physical body really with its nonsense behind, because what nurtures me is walks in nature and deep philosophical intellectual conversation that really, really touches me. And so I've got to settle into that now, and I've got to start to realise that I've achieved what I set out to achieve. It's a bit like if you're a goal prospector, when do you know when to stop, Doug? Or one of the metaphors that Alan Watts used to say, when you get the message, hang up the phone.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What did he say? The microbiologist doesn't sit there with his eye glued to the eyepiece. He walks away and works out what he's seeing. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. I mean, yeah, like I say, it I think is a natural and normal desire when you wake up to want to bring that. But, oh man, and you learn the hard way sometimes, because I'm stubborn. Us Libras, we could tend to be a little
Yeah,
stubborn.
absolutely. We,
I
we
learned the
don't we
hard
don't
way.
really know when to give up. I mean, one of the greatest things I'm always saying is that I will never give up. And in my past, I've never given up. But I don't consider it giving up now. I feel it an acceptance of achieving what I set out to do, what I
Yeah.
set out to achieve. All I say to myself is, Aaron, feel yourself, feel the vibration around you now. Listen to the hearts of the people that you're connecting with. Is that not what you were looking for this past 5 years? How many do you want? Is it going to increase your ecstasy if you've got double or triple or quadruple? No, you've got to know where to stop and then focus on the family at hand, really.
Yes.
Because you see, if you've got a family, and you keep having an addition to the family, and with every addition that you get to the family, then the other siblings, they kind of get a little bit of resentment, because all of a sudden the focus from the mother is on this new addition. Yeah. and and,
Yeah.
and so the older you are, the less contact and the less love and the less involvement you get, and so you can start to feel left out. So I don't want to focus on gathering any more people. I want to focus on the ones that I've gathered.
Right. And like I say, they'll come. The ones that are meant to will come. It's kind of
Regardless,
like a
regardless.
vibrational thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's what I had to learn the hard way too. And you find that with something like YouTube, you get a lot of cheerleaders. Oh, great job. But they don't really take the information and do something useful with it, take action or something. I
yeah.
found that a lot too. Besides the people who spew venom at you, you just get a lot of cheerleaders too. So I think that the ones that are meant to gravitate towards it, well, they'll just show up, you know. And I think we probably should be really patient with that. Like I say, out of 10,000, a handful. And, you know, like I don't care about the numbers. That handful of people touched my life. And I look at it like that was what that whole shit was about, to
Yes.
find my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful,
Yeah.
absolutely grateful for it.
Picture this then, hypothetical scenario. When we are in the realm of where we're going to be going back to at some stage, we have got friends there, and we go, okay then. We get together, there's maybe a dozen of us, and you all join hands in a circle, and you go, okay, we're going into this other dimension. We're going to be scattered all over the world, but our mission is to see if we can find one another.
Oh, I love that. I think
Isn't
you're
isn't,
right.
isn't that beautiful?
And how much you want to bet we've done it before? I bet we know each other for eternity. And how you doing? Oh, it's good to see you again. You know what I mean? I
Yeah,
like that a lot.
yeah,
I entertain that. Yeah,
and
yeah.
then when this dimension is finally over for us all, and we're back there again, we'll give each other a high five and we'll go, "Did it again!" This is getting too easy now. We've got to go into another fucked up dimension, to see if we can, regroup our energies, because that's what it is. You see, you go through this life, and the more awoken and enlightened you become, the more intuitive you become, and you start to feel the world around you to a greater extent. And that's what this thing is with what we've got going on here. It's a feeling that of oneness, of absolute deep-rooted knowingness. And
Yeah.
people have said to me, I've had to contact you because what you say are my words. I'm not as articulate as you, and I wish I could say it like you do, but I can't. But you say it for me, and therefore, I've got to have a connection with you. And so this is the beauty of it, is doing what we have been doing. We have been a beacon of light out in the darkest of nights, and we've attracted people who were looking for something, let's just say.
Yeah,
And I think that something is themselves.
I think so too. Yeah. And I mean, like, I'll repeat this too. You have something to offer. You're walking this journey of self-actualization, self-discovery, whatever. You have something to bring to the table. So don't ever sell yourself short. We all do. And I think, like I heard that voice in my experience, the gathering is here. The gathering is here. And I think that the people gravitating towards us is living proof of that,
Yeah.
and we should embrace it, I think, and um, seek to help each other grow.
Yeah, absolutely. It would have been a marvelous experience for yourself to have this voice. Oh, goodness me, and we could speculate forever what the voice was, in an ayahuasca trip or in a shroom trip or in a DMT trip, what's going on here. But there's a message that's always delivered from all of these psychedelics, and it seems to have a deep, deep, deep rooted knowing and familiarity.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like then that our apparition in the spirit world is communicating with this avatar down here,
Yeah.
and every so often it just gives you that little glimmer of encouragement. That's it, keep
Mhm.
going, keep going.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I
it's
was I was urged, strongly urged, to define myself and stand in your uniqueness. I can't tell you how many times I heard those words. And I think what it is it's ourself. We're talking to ourself in this little dialogue that occurs. Perhaps just a part of the psyche that's normally veiled.
yeah.
I think that neurotransmitter somehow gives us a brief glimmer or access to. I like to say that it introduced me to myself. Because
Yes.
here I am in ego world, da, 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 the conversation constantly chattering, and I meditate from time to time too and quiet that down and just be. But something about that experience just really, really changed my life forever. Um, and it's I think it's the voice of your own self. I really do. To me, it was not external at all. It was all internal. It was an internal thing. And
Yeah.
God, there's no way to put it into words.
No, I mean, and this is the whole thing with my experiences regarding whatever it is that I'm taking and experiencing. It seems that it is the self that you're experiencing, and even in the crazy DMT world, when you make comparisons to other people's DMT experiences, when you know that person, for instance, Guy, we've become, really quite close because has the facility to be open like we do. And if you have this facility to be open, then that's when you will be received. And so this is the situation that we've got with our relationship, where we can talk about absolutely everything. And he's very articulate and intelligent, and so he can express himself. And this is one of the things that is quite scarce in humanity, the ability to really express themselves using a broad range of language. And so he will talk about his DMT experience, and I will talk about mine, and I will look at his personality as a psychologist, and I will look at mine, and I'll go, well, all you're talking about is what your life is, only it was depicted to you in metaphor, just like a dream. So it seems to me that all the DMT world is a facet of your own deep-rooted psyche, just like an astral projection, just like a dream, just like an acid trip, just like anything else.
Yeah. And I think it was Graham Hancock came up with the idea that perhaps this neurotransmitter gives us a peek into our own DNA, which I thought was pretty brilliant. And like I say, DNA is a storehouse of information. Maybe that's what it does. If that's true, I sit here before you and say we are magnificent beings. We are immense. We are eternal. And, you could have that belief if you like, but when you experience something like that and see the magnitude of what you truly are, it's just life altering. I'm so grateful. I couldn't imagine going to my grave not having had that experience at least once in this life.
Yeah.
Because that's how profound it was.
Yes,
And it helped me to deal with all this repressed shit that I had buried in my mind, that I'd forgotten about, shit my father had done to me, or helped me forgive my ex-wife for the betrayal. And I was able to let go of so much shit. And to me, I kind of look at enlightenment like that, more so than, oh, I see the light. It's weight. The weight has been lifted off of me. And,
yes,
like
that's
a
it.
balloon.
Another way of looking at that term, to be enlightened. Well, when you look at it, well, what do they mean to be enlightened? Are you going to see this brilliant bright light? Is that what they're talking about? Or physically, do you feel more light? Does your heart feel light? You see, when the Egyptians they wrote their Book of the Dead, well, they were using the metaphor there, weren't they? Because they were measuring the weight of the heart against a feather, and so therefore, then, if you are an enlightened being, your heart won't weigh any more than a feather. And so therefore then it seems to me that they were using that expression in that particular way.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell you, when you are able to deal with a lifetime of repression and trauma and hurt and let it go, it's like the hot air balloon, held down by the sandbags. Well, the sandbags represent your fear, your resentment, your unresolved issues. Well, you cut the bags away, what happens? The balloon just floats all by
Yeah,
itself,
yeah.
To me, that's kind of how I look at it. But I think what happens is we bury these things in the garbage dumpster of the mind, and we forget. So we don't ever actually really deal with it. And so those things, I think that eventually in life, those things will come to the surface eventually to be dealt with. If we don't take it, our own willingness to do it, it's going to torture us. And I see this happening with one of my younger brothers. He hated my father, and it was justified, but he buried this shit his whole life. Now he's in his mid-40s, and it's coming, and it's really doing a number on him.
Yes.
And I'm there to help him whenever I can and talk to him and listen. Because, I know exactly, I'm a little older. I went through more shit with my father, and I try to tell him, look, we had these experiences, and the mind has a defense mechanism. We bury it because if we didn't, we'd go crazy. But we do it a little bit too much, I think. And then eventually, these things are going to rise to the surface. If we don't deal with them of our own free will, it'll drag us through the mud. And that's not, you could suffer breakdown from this. And I think that's part of the problem, too. It's like carrying around a sack of bricks. Well, all you got to do is set the down. But no, those are my fucking bricks. That's
Exactly.
you know where you hang on
You
to
touch
this
my
shit.
bricks, I'll smash your fucking face
Yeah,
in.
yeah,
This is it. And you see, this is why people, they protect their deep-rooted issues so vehemently. And if you
yeah.
try to release them of them, then they will fight tooth and nail. I
Right.
have an elder brother, 2 years older than me. And you would think we are chalk and cheese, even though we came from the same genetics and we had the same upbringing and all the rest of it. He carries the weight of the world in his face and in his body. And like Paul is always saying, you know, you can read a person's life and their disposition by looking at the face. It's absolutely true in most instances. And so
Yeah.
my brother now, he has all different sorts of ailments going on with anxiety and alopecia and this skin thing that you get, red sores coming up all over your body. They're here one week and then they're gone the next week, and
Wow.
all this alopecia's on the head. Is what do you have when you have all these red sores on your body?
It could be any number of things.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I'll tell you, stress will do it.
Stress, that's right. So what it's born out of stress. And
Yeah.
so I've tried to give him hypnotherapy. I've tried to speak to him to get into his deep-rooted psyche, but he holds too much resentment for me, the younger brother, that how can I even begin to think that I can give the older brother some advice. He cannot get over himself. He cannot get over his ego, and everything I say is, he can, there's an element of truth in that, but it's not like that. It's like this, and I go, okay, then. Well, you look in the mirror and ask yourself the question: do you think Aaron's right, or do you think you're right? There's only 2 years difference, mate. 2 years. Look at the life I'm living, and it's due to the knowledge that I've got, and it's due to the application of the knowledge I've got in my life. Look at the life you're living, and then to see if you can have some resignation that maybe you may be wrong, and you might want to open your heart and mind to younger brother to allow a little bit of wisdom in. But they'll never do it, and every time I've tried to relieve him of his clinging on to our father, and he never got on with our father. He carries the weight of that, but he doesn't want to let it go. He doesn't
Yeah.
want to let go of all the shit that he carries with him from a negative childhood. And what he's done is he's got a son now, 12 years old, and he's bestowed his son with all of it. And I've
Wow.
said to him, I said, my God, do you realize what you're doing with your son? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, you're completely replicating the relationship that you had with your father. Look at what the
Yeah.
games you're playing now. You're playing stupid games which derived out of the 70s with soldiers and tanks and this sort of thing on the carpet. 12-year-old kids are not interested in that, but he's doing it because he loves his dad, and he knows that you love it. He doesn't love it. You love it. He's got more wisdom about this than you, because you don't know why you're doing it. You think you're doing it for him because he's going to enjoy it. He's not enjoying it. He'd much rather get back to his iPhone or his fucking Xbox. What do you think you're doing to the kid? And he's like, he had a big realization. His face dropped and his eyes opened at just one of the most rudimentary, stupid things that he was perpetuating in his life. He was
Yeah.
trying to live out an occasion he had with the old man, which was, quite endearing, father and son thing. And there were very few of those in his life.
Yeah. Well, I think what it is, Aaron, is that we allow these things, these bricks, to define us. We have allowed upbringing or anything external to define who we are. And so for people to let that go, they feel like they're losing their very identity.
Yeah.
And that is so sad to me. But I say, you know what? That's a great thing, because all these fucking things that we've allowed to define us, we get rid of them. Well, shit, now we got a blank slate. Now we could create ourselves.
And
So
that's
what do you
beautiful.
say you are? These
Yeah.
things. I tell this to my brother. Yeah, dad was an abusive motherfucker. Yeah, but that past experience doesn't define me. I choose to be kind instead.
Yeah.
Or my ex betrayed me badly and I lost everything. Well, you know what? That experience doesn't define me. I'm grateful to be free of a poison relationship. Or I lost my career because of these massive spinal injuries. You know what, though? That doesn't define me. I'm grateful that I could still walk and get around. So I think it's definitely a lot has to do with the shift of perspective and not allowing these things to tell us who we are, you
Yeah,
know?
and I think there's, you know,
Excuse me.
doing a lot of reading relating to psychology and uh, astrology and all of the paranormal and all the things, the belief systems and all this sort of thing. One of the things regarding this astrology, there's a little bit of it that I've got some sort of adherence with, and that's the sort of stereotypical part of it. When you look at people born under certain energies, and this is what it is. I mean, I don't go too mystical about it. I'm just looking at it. There's a certain energy during the year with the constellations all around us, and we're born into this. And so it's clear to me that you think very, very similar to like I do, and we have this innate ability to be able to forgive, to be able to move on, to be able to release ourselves and become new people. Because, like you say, Doug, many people, they will never ever let go of the memories that they've got and the anger and the hate that they're holding, because
Yeah.
they think if they do, then they will be empty and they wouldn't know how to define themselves. But people like you and I, we define ourselves by the very second, and that's it. I will never define myself by anything I've done in the past. And I've often said in videos that, people, get your heads around this. All you are, and you're not even that, but let's just say all you are, for the purpose of this matrixial thing, is an accumulation of the experiences that you've had. And
Yeah.
so that's because you remember this energy that you are partaking in that stuff, but you don't have to own it. Because it's only a
Yeah.
thought now. It's not. There's nothing real about it. There's nothing tangible. No corporality about it. There's just a
Yeah.
thought. If you want to retain that thought, your prerogative. If you don't, your prerogative.
Yeah. It's dead on. Don't let that define you, you know? And that's where I think humanity runs into a lot of problems as well, you know? Oh, God, I've seen it so much too. My mother was like that. She just lived out of the past. I mean, my father did a number on her, but okay, it's over, dead and buried. You're free from this oppressive thing.
Yeah.
So why not live out the rest of your life and enjoy, you know? And she was only 55 when she died, right? And, as the flower's ready to bloom, she,
Young. That's one
young,
year older than me. In actual
yeah,
fact, it's not 1 year older. It's about 6 months older than me. And I'm thinking, wow, if I was to perish at 55, that would be a tragedy. My life's just begun, really.
yeah,
It's the old
oh,
Jungian thing. When you get to middle age, 50 years old, it's not time to go out into the pasture and to become an old and stiff and that. It's time to know what the fuck you are. It's time
yeah,
to learn about the life that you're living and potentially you can be living. The first 50 years, you came here to achieve the things that is genetically endowed within you, and maybe even partake in this Darwinism thing that we're just going to be procreating. That's the only reason that this body is here in this dimension, is to procreate. But the consciousness aspect of it comes down to experience.
yeah.
That facet of it. And so it's kind of like the automata of the human being is hijacked by consciousness, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, that's what we are. We are consciousness having an experience, you know. Um, like when I hear people say, my spirit, as if it's something that they own. No, that's what you are.
Yeah.
I don't have a spirit. I am a spirit. I have a body. It's a different way of looking at it, you know. But to me, that's what we are, is consciousness that is fragmented and in contemplation of itself, creation and contemplation of itself. I kind
Yeah.
of see it like that. And, like you were saying earlier, go out to nature and you get that connectedness. Yes, because
Here's
that
the
is
thing.
you.
Yeah, here's the thing for you then. I think consciousness is a Libran.
Say
Because
again?
I think consciousness is a Libran.
Yeah,
Because it can never make the fuck its mind up.
that's right.
It's so paradoxical.
Yeah, it is. Uh, I use this metaphor. I feel like my whole life, a kid standing on the teeter-totter, going like this, trying to get that, get it to
Yeah.
stay still. That's a metaphor for my whole life. But yeah, to me, it's just so important. to have that kind of equilibrium. And you notice about us Libras, something goes wrong, we could lose our minds over it because it's throwing the harmony out. I cannot be in a disharmonious situation
Yeah.
like I was in my marriage for so many years. Oh, it's enough to make you go crazy. So when
Yeah,
that ended, it was just,
it destroys us. And
yeah,
this was my whole episode of 3 years in Ghana. With all the stuff that went on there, it tore me down, and it would have killed many people. And lots of close people around me have said, I've got no idea how you've recovered so well from that, how you don't retain any bitterness to the people involved, and this, that, and the
yeah,
other. And I go, well, probably the reason why I don't is because I've grown so exponentially out of that experience. I thank every single one of them. Even though they did me wrong terribly, even though the guy that came into my bedroom and shot me in my bed, thank you, because that was the turning point that opened my eyes and changed me as a person. And now I'm really living. I wasn't living then. I was a fool. I was captivated by the hypnosis. And you, with your shotgun pistol, you woke me up at
yeah,
12:30 a.m. on one dark night in the ghetto in Ghana. You woke me up, brother. So thank you.
right? Wow. You know, it's kind of amazing that people on this journey, a lot of us have suffered tragically in many cases, you know. I'm not saying that it takes that to wake someone up, but oftentimes it seems that many of us have suffered greatly.
Yeah.
Um, it's just one thing that we seem to have in common, you know. It's just amazing to me. A lot of times people won't initiate the journey or want to wake up unless catastrophe strikes in their life. Isn't that amazing? Like I said earlier, how now when that happened, I'm sure you're thinking, oh, God, what's a tragic fucking thing. But
Yeah.
looking back, it actually gave you something. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
It absolutely did.
Incredible.
At the time it was just another what can I say? It's another nail in the coffin, almost a final nail in the coffin, literally. And I was absolutely furious.
Sure.
I was driving around for the next 4 months whilst my money lasts with a pump action shotgun with 9 cartridges in it, with a safety catch off, ready to go. I was ready to kill. I was looking for this person. I was looking for people involved in the conspiracy to kill me. I'd turned into a killer, and I used to lie in my bed at night with the pump action right next to me, with my hand on it very often. I put all
Wow.
bars upon my windows. I'd increase the security height of my wall, but still, if people wanted to get over, then they were going to do it. And so often I would hear something like footsteps outside, and I would get up and I'd have this pump action close to my chest, and I'd be creeping around the house, looking out into the dark outside to see if I could see any shadows. And I was prepared to start unleashing, because I went to see the chief of police and I said, when can I kill a man? And he
Yeah.
told me, as soon as that man comes onto your land. And as the wall's 9 foot tall, then he's not come to give you anything. And so, and then particularly if he comes in the early hours of the morning, you kill the man. You don't ask questions, you just shoot. And so that's what I was prepared to do.
Yeah. Wow.
But not to dwell on that any longer. What can we say then about this vibration that we find ourselves in, Doug, whereby the whole world is closing us down? Like your site is called Doug Michael Truth, and I've been speaking my truth, for this past 5 years, and they've closed me down. And there's many other sites that are being victimised, and they're being closed down. Much bigger names than you or I, and
Yeah.
so therefore they're crushing the spirit out of us any which way. And your experience you just displayed regarding your ayahuasca, the most beautiful thing that you've ever experienced in your life, probably, except the birth of your child or children.
Yeah. It's close second.
And yet
Close second.
those motherfuckers, they want to deny every single human being of that experience. What can we really discern about that?
Oh God, we can't have the game can't have people exploring their own consciousness. Oh, no, no. What, discovering that you're magnificent and eternal? We can't have that. Imagine if the whole world discovered that.
Yeah,
We'd shake these fuckers off like, like mosquitoes, swat them away, and the funny thing is, those two compounds, you have the chacruna leaf uh, and the Biniosteriopsis capi, which is the vine, that's the inhibitor. Do
yeah,
you know when these two things are combined, you've got scientists at the University of Sao Paulo, Brazil, looking into the treatment of diabetes and cancer only when they're combined, which I find interesting. But even what really got me, University of Florida scientists discovered that these two compounds, when combined, produce neurogenesis in the brain, which means the birth of new neurons, which to me is just absolutely mind-blowing. So not only does this stuff have the potential to help us deal with our repressed stuff, but it has medicinal value. I mean, real medicinal value. And what does that tell you if a plant is outlawed, like
yeah.
cannabis or
Everything about
psilocybin?
the plant, other than the scary aspects of our ego being terrified by letting go, everything
Yeah,
about the experience that I've ever heard from anybody, they've always told me, even if they were scared, that it was such a marvelous experience, and they're very, very glad that they've done it. I've never
yeah,
heard anybody say that they wish they'd never done it. That this sort of thing, and so when you look at this game, then of like we've come here to discover ourselves. Well, it's kind of like, well, it'd be too easy if we allowed them to do that. So we're going to make it hard for them to get this
yeah,
stuff. And only
yeah,
those really, really determined to seek out, because they've got some sort of kernel of intuition in their mind that they are more. And so therefore they're asking questions. How can I discover my moreness? Well, you can do it via meditation. You can do it via some sort of spiritual experience. How do I do it? Well, if you meditate for 20, 30 years, maybe you'll have an enlightenment. Well, how can I do it sooner? Oh, well, there's shrooms and there's ayahuasca and there's DMT. Okay, where can I go and get this stuff? This is the sort of thing. We have to be resourceful if we want to know ourselves. And this is the whole thing about the hero's journey. It's not easy. It's very, very hard. And that's
right.
why very few people make it.
That's right. It takes a lot of inner work. Nobody wants to do the inner work. It's far easier. I'll just let the world tell me who I am. I'll just go along to get along. I got my 4,000 channels of shit to distract me, and I've got my video games, and I've got my garbage food to eat, and I've got, I'm okay. So why would I want to do that stuff and just go along to get along? It's incredible. And, so many people are more than willing to manipulate that mindset and encourage it because for whatever reason they're doing, getting up on the energy, whatever it might be. But yeah, it's very few, I think, that will take that upon themselves. And I feel very fortunate that I went through the things in my life that led me to where I am today. I'm grateful for it, you know?
Absolutely, and that's exactly my standpoint. I
Yeah.
wouldn't change a single minute of it.
Nope,
All
me
of the
neither.
stuff that's befallen me and caused me trauma at that time, like Nietzsche says, if you don't kill you, it's going to make you stronger. And
That's right.
I'm immensely appreciative for all of that, and I don't resent a single person that endeavoured to cause me any stress. There's a bit of a parable, and it kind of it goes something like, be kind to every single person that does you harm, because this person is really you. They're coming into this dimension to give you a challenge to help you to grow. And so if you consider it like that, if you consider that every guy that's ever punched you, that every person that's ever stole from you, that every single person that's ever abused from you, then if you transmute that energy, and this is the thing, this is the crux of the whole decision-making aspect of what you've got to do. You've got to decide whether you want positivity or negativity. If you want to hate these people all of your life, then you're going to dwell in that negativity, and you're going to carry
Yeah.
that with you. It's going to show on your face, and it's going to age you, and it's going to kill you. If you
Yeah.
say to yourself that I'm not dwelling on that, I'm taking that beating as a positive thing, and I'm growing from that, and I'm releasing myself of any anger or resentment I had towards that person. Let me just finally, because we're up to about two hours, Doug. Even though
Yeah,
I'd love to
I do
continue.
have to get going pretty soon. So,
Yeah, so we'll finish this up with 5 or 10 minutes if that's okay with you.
um, could you give me 1 second?
Yeah, sure.
Give me 1 second. I'll be
Yeah.
right back. Okay.
Okay. So what a marvelous conversation. Really, really enjoying this. Absolutely fantastic. And I'm hoping that you, the viewer, all 12 of you, enjoy it too. And so I think, to be fair, gone are the days whereby like I've said to Doug, I care about trying to reach anybody else. I'm happy with the people and friends that I've got around me, and so I'm hoping now that you've made it this far and you appreciate what we've done. And maybe in time, some of you might want to speak with Doug also.
Sorry about that. I had that big cup of coffee and
Oh,
I
all
had to
right, no
go.
worries, mate. I just filled it in. I just said how appreciative I was to have this conversation, and I hope people enjoy it. And so,
Oh, me too. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. This is great. It's
yeah,
so nice to get to know you, Aaron.
thank you very much, and likewise, it's a real pleasure. Finally, then, just to wrap this up, my sister, 52 years old, she had a traumatic childhood with our stepmother. And the stepmother abused her, persecuted her, traumatized her, and all this sort of thing. She hates that woman to this day. And she will
Yeah.
never, ever, ever release what she says, that woman, from the fear that she's got going on. And I said, can you not see what's happening here? That woman is as free as a bird because she doesn't give a flying fuck about you. She never did. She's not carrying the weight of it. You're carrying the
Right.
weight of it. You're killing yourselves. Your resentment is creating antibodies and negative energy within you, which is causing your body harm. If
Right.
you released her, you're not releasing her. You're releasing yourself. But she
Right.
couldn't. She
Right.
couldn't understand that. She couldn't grasp that. Doug.
Yeah. Think about that. I mean, if you hold on to that, that person still has control over you. Now,
Yeah.
you don't have to forgive their action. Their action might have been terrible and unforgivable, but to hold on to that seething resentment and hatred, you're doing yourself a great disservice. I try to explain this to my brother. It's like, you got to let it go. He's dead and buried anyway. You're never going to find closure unless you find it within.
Yeah,
It's
and
the only
and,
place.
and so this is one of the things then that I've woken myself up to, that it doesn't matter how much intellectualizing you can have with somebody. My sister, she's not stupid. She can rationalize what I'm saying, but there's something within her mind which just says no. I hear what
Yeah.
you're saying, Aaron. It's perfectly rational to me, and it's all this Freudian and Jungian stuff that you always talk about, but I'm not doing it because I don't want to. And so, therefore, then, just like you say, she wants to drag her bricks with her because of whatever reason. Maybe they serve her in some sort of way, or she thinks they
Yeah.
serve her.
Yeah.
And this is it, the fallacy of our thoughts, isn't it? The lying mind that we have.
Yeah. And they do serve to a point, but again, it's that willingness to let go. And I think if, like I said, if we allow this stuff to actually define us, eh, yeah, and there comes a time when it has to be dealt with. And if we don't do it, we're going to get dragged, and it won't be pretty. And I think we're in a day and age where the energies are unique, and that possibly that's facilitating a rising to the surface of all this shit we carry around. So far better, in my opinion, to deal with it willingly as opposed to just trying to drug it out of existence or push it to the side or ignore it. Like, I think people are in for some serious psychological trauma in the near future if they don't, get a hold of this. And you're
Yeah,
right, it'll physically kill you. That's, again, crazy.
I'm a great believer in the ways of the wizard and alchemy. Now, when you look at the metaphor of the philosopher's stone and all this, I think we were all established that the philosopher's stone is discovering the secret within yourself.
Yeah,
And so this whole thing about alchemy, it's the facility to be able to transmute the negative into the positive. on face value, it's transmuting lead into gold, and there is some chemical truth in that, because you can do it under certain conditions. You can create gold out of the substances, because it's all about pressure and temperature, isn't it? But if you look at it the whole universe in a paradoxical way, nothing just means one thing. If you look at it, that our greatest challenge in this world then is to transmute all of the energy which we encounter into positive. Because if
Yeah.
we do that, and when we receive negative energy, we transmute it into positive and we project that back out onto the world, doesn't that sound to you like the secret of life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. Yeah. And I try to do that in my own small way. And I don't think it has to be anything extravagant. Just a little, sometimes a little bit goes a long way. It was absolutely nothing for me because I like to cook. To me, cooking is an art form too, but it was nothing to me to bring this homeless guy up the street some food that I made and, good stuff, not the packaged crap that he's used to eating
Yeah.
all day, and to just give my time to him. And then finally he made it home. His whole thing was he wanted to get back home to Massachusetts, and he was taking back cans and bottles to save up the money for a bus ticket. And I think that my just treating this man like a human being helped him to have that kind of hope, I guess. And it was such a beautiful experience because, you know, other people would pass it by, fucking bum, druggie, whatever. He wasn't a bum or a druggie. He lost his wife and kid in a fire. Started
Yeah.
walking,
Oh,
wound up
man.
here. He just walked for days and days, wound up here. And I sat, I'm like, what happened? Do you mind me asking? And that was it. But so my point was just a little bit. To me, it's no big deal. To him, it was the biggest deal ever. Somebody giving me clothes and food, and nobody cares about me. Why does this guy? And I think to him, it made a big difference. So that's what I'm saying. A little bit can really go a long way.
Absolutely, a little bit placed in the right direction, and with the right intention behind it. And
Yeah.
the reality of it is when you help somebody like this, then it's not necessarily what you give to them, it's the fact that you gave. And so, like you said, then it touches something in their human soul, and it gives them a spark of that there is light at the end of the tunnel, there is compassion, there is humanity,
Yeah.
and it gives them the strength to get back and to impart that onto others when they have the facility again to be able to do so.
Yeah. Yeah. And I
S
mean, you talked to Max the other day. Do you know this guy crawled through a tunnel into Palestine, into
yeah,
Gaza, to rebuild schools for kids that had their schools bombed? I mean, that's how you do it. I mean, you don't have to crawl through a tunnel into Gaza, but this guy did. I always kind of admired him. He was one of the few out there that I really gravitated towards his work and the way he presents it, and very, very calm and, not shouting Zionism like all these people do. And I thought his approach was really great. And the fact that when I found out he did that, crawled into Palestine, I'm like, man, that's how you do it. You do what little you can do to bring that positive change that you want to see in the world. And
that's right, taking a risk. And when he was talking about going down this tunnel, he was being led there by, some 12-year-old kids or whatever. And he was thinking, well, is this where I die? Because he couldn't see beyond a certain turn in it, and he didn't know where it led. But when he got down, he committed himself into his death hole, could have been. Then
yeah,
he saw that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it took about an hour and a half, apparently, on hands and knees, because it
wow,
was about a kilometre long, and he was dragging his luggage through. Him and the person he went with.
wow,
Crawling, dragging, for about a kilometre. And so, yes, a very brave thing to do.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And so on.
That's what a hero does. That's the definition of a hero. To go and, the kids were so grateful to him. He's there fixing shit that got bombed out. To me, that's admirable to me. That's just really incredible story.
Yeah, and so that's then a lesson that we should all learn, is to try to do a bit of that for our fellow man, whatever way we can. Some of us can be heroes in that respect, or some of us can be heroes in other respects. I mean,
Yeah, you
what
can't
we
expect to receive recognition. You do it from the heart because it feels right. for
Yeah,
no other reason. I
yeah,
don't care that anyone knows about that or what I've done to help the vets. It's not why I do it. I do it because to me it feels right. I honestly believe that when you help another, you're helping yourself. When you hurt another, you're hurting yourself. I
yeah.
think, what if humanity got its mind around to that idea? Would half the shit that goes on, it wouldn't be possible if we really knew that. Wait, if I'm hurting you, I'm hurting me. Well, why would I want to do that?
Yeah, and just like the vast majority of what we've spoken about this evening, if everybody could listen to what we've said, could rationalize it, could take it on board and start to live it, then the world will be a better place. But if this video went out to 100,000 people, we'd still get a great number of thumbs down of people that we could never ever reach. And some people could intellectualize it, but just like Mark Passio's always saying, if you think you are awakened because you've read 1,000 books and you've absolutely done every nook and cranny on YouTube, unless you put this information into actual practice, then you're still fast asleep. And so
Yeah.
what it is that we do is we intellectualize the information, we embody it, and then we create the whatever the energy makes manifest, because once you've absorbed the information and it's positive, and even if some of it's negative, you've transmuted the energy, and then the product which comes out of you is transmuted positive energy based on your wisdom, then that's the way of the wizard, isn't it?
Yes.
um, and I like that sort of metaphor, because when you see these wizards like Gandalf and that, they're standing there with a big stick and they're feeling all self-empowered. What is it that makes them self-empowered? It's their knowledge and it's their wisdom. And what is it
Right.
that this stick represents? It represents their power. It's not a physical power. It's a spiritual power that they've got. And that's why they can stand solid as a rock in the face of thunder and lightning and all this shit that the Dark Wizard throws at them. They stand there with their confidence, don't they? Knowing that they can transmute that energy.
Yeah.
And so if we try a little each day to transmute the negative energy that befalls us, then I think we'll lead by example.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely right.
Brilliant.
Well,
So on
I
that note
do
then,
have to get running. It's a little
yeah,
after
no,
past 4 my
absolutely,
time. I got stuff to
absolutely.
do.
And so I'll thank you once again, Doug. Really appreciated it.
Thank
I
you.
look forward to our next conversation.
So do
And
I.
I don't know whether you want to use this for yourself as one of your audios, but if you do, then feel absolutely free. I'm going to bang
Sure.
it up on my site for my viewers, and I'm sure any of them that get around to listen to it will thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, yeah. Me too. I hope so. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking your time to watch this and to contemplate the information. I'll tell you, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. So thank you, one and all. And Aaron, thank you again for spending your time with me. It's a pleasure getting to know you.
Oh, I'll
And
tell you what I'll do. Let me just turn the camera on. Well, whilst we're saying our goodbyes, yeah, there you go.
yeah, it's a pleasure getting to know you, Sarah. And I really appreciate you contacting me. Well, I actually brought us together, and I appreciate that. I really thank you again. Yeah, I enjoyed your talk. I can share with the people. This is what it's all about. Energy is going to attract the right people to this whole thing, I think, and it's happening. So I'm grateful to everyone. Thank you, guys.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Doug. And consider yourself a
You're awesome.
friend. And we'll speak again.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thank you.
Have a great day, mate.
You also take care. Cheers. Ciao.